Brother Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Excuse me. Beautiful. All praise is due to Allah. Let's give Brother James another hand. All praise is due to Allah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu rasuluh sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. Praise belongs to Allah. I bear witness that there is but one God, and I bear witness to Jesus and Muhammad and all of the great worthies who came in the great line of divine. I greet you in our radio listening audience and those who are here at the Final Call Administration Building with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. We have really been fired and inspired by our assistant minister, Brother James Muhammad. For those who are just tuning in and those who are just coming in here at the Final Call Administration Building, you are listening to the National Radio Broadcast Ministry of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan Muhammad, whose return to this microphone is anxiously awaited and expected in the near future. To him, we are deeply grateful and highly honored for granting us this great privilege and opportunity once again to represent him and his message and the message of the man who taught, shaped, molded, and fashioned him for this time, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to represent their message to you, their beloved people. Today, we want to go right after our enemy. The best defense is a good offense. Why wait? Why wait? When the enemy attacks, we don't wait for defense. We start setting up an offense. And we make it so that the enemy is so concerned that he has attacked, that he's constantly and continuously preoccupied with the fact now that you are launching not a defense, but an awful and an awesome offense on him. And so the Sixth Fleet has been out in the Mediterranean. It has been the Sixth Fleet out in what is called by the people of that area the Gulf of Sirte, but called by the white man the Gulf of Sidra, with a commander by the name of Frank B. Kelso, and a commander-in-chief of all of the armed forces, including the Sixth Fleet and the Seventh Fleet, named Ronald Wilson Reagan. We want to look at Ronald Wilson Reagan and see if he's in the Bible. We want to look for the Sixth Fleet and see if the Sixth Fleet is in the Bible. We want to look for Frank B. Kelso and see if Kelso, the commander of the Sixth Fleet, can be found in the Bible. We want to look today under the searchlight of truth of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his son and servant, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, under the searchlight of truth. We want to go through this book called the Bible, since many in our radio listening audience, you believe in the Bible. Many in our audience here at the Final Call Administration Building, you believe in the Bible. So is the Sixth Fleet in the Bible? Is Reagan in the Bible? Is our condition as a people in the Bible? Is America in the Bible? Is Libya in the Bible? Is Gaddafi in the Bible? Is Elijah Muhammad in the Bible? Is Louis Farrakhan in the Bible? We want to go in the book today. And as the Bible says, we want to reason together. We got to reason together. We start off in the book of Revelation. Many of the preachers are scared of this book. It reveals that they're scared of this book. Revelation We start off in Revelations in the 13th chapter. And in the 13th chapter, it says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as though it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast." For those who are in our radio listening audience, I want you to know, and those who are here, we're going to stretch out with this subject today. We're going to go after this number of the beast, 666. We're going to go after America and Reagan and the Mediterranean and the Sixth Fleet and all of it by God's word today. Judge it and measure it under the yardstick of Almighty God. So if you have a chance now, jump up right now in our radio listening audience, put on your clothes and come on down to 734 West 79th Street, to the Final Call Administration Building, the headquarters of the boldest black man on the face of the planet Earth, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. 734 West 79th Street. Because even after we go off of the radio, even after we go off of the air, we're going to still have something that we'll be putting in the air right here from the Final Call building. So I'm going to let you know now, I'm stretching out with this subject today. So just sit back. If it gets too hot, we'll open up the doors and let some air circulate. If your seat gets too hot at home, don't leave. If your seat gets too hot in here, just raise up and fan it a little bit and sit back down. But don't go nowhere. And it says, "And they worshiped the dragon who gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with the beast? Who is like unto the beast?" The Bible says, "Who is able to make war with this beast? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world." Bible says, if any man have an ear, I'm sure it means woman too, let him or her hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke like a dragon. And he exerciseth all of the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and those who dwell on it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, they that should make an image to the beast, that had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should speak, and cause that as many would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bondman, free and enslaved, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, except he had the mark or the name except he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Revelation 13 now in the 18th verse says, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. We go into the blackboard. 666. A decade is 10. A score is 20. 60 is 3 times what? 3 times 20. And that gives you 60. It says, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of what? The number of what? What? It is the number of a man. And his number is 666. So the number of the beast would be 666. But we are told that it's not the number of an animal, but it is the number of a man with a beast-like nature and a bestiality in makeup, rooted in his very makeup and character. So Revelation, John the Revelator says that it is the number of, and I better put that on the board, at least we forget, it is the number of a man. And his number is 666. And he would come up out of a government, a wicked world government, and a false world religious system from a nation called Babylon. Let's put that on the board. Babylon, B-A-B-Y. B-A-B-Y. I repeat, B-A-B-Y. L-O-N. Babylon. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his son, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, teaches us to go to root knowledge. Don't get hung out on the branches. You always hear me remind you of what they teach us. He said, go down the trunk of the tree of wisdom to the root knowledge. Don't hang out there on the branches. All praise is due to Allah. When we study the etymological root of the word or the term Babylon or Babylon, we see baby, and we see Lon, and Lon is the root of the capital of a nation that exists today called England, Britain, the United Kingdom. The capital of Britain is London. And so the Bible tells us about a baby London. Not the mother, but a baby London. A baby Lon. Studying that etymological root further under the searchlight of truth of Muhammad and Farrakhan. It says, baby lion. The symbol of England is a lion, as the symbol of America is an eagle. But on the seal or the crest of England, coming out of the capital, London, is the lion. And you've heard of Richard the Lion-Hearted and others. So it's baby London, baby lion. You say, I can't go with that. You got to take me deeper than that. Well, that's what we're here today to do, from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. If you know the history, you know that American history is based on 13 original colonies breaking away from the mother country called England. 13 original colonies set up on what is called the Eastern Seaboard. And they even call them the New England States. Not the whole England States, but they call them the New England States. The Bible refers to the daughters of Babylon, not the mother, But the daughters of Babylon, the baby London, the baby lion, the daughter, it also speaks of a mystery Babylon. Mystery, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, means that which is unsolved. It hasn't been figured out. And if it has, it ain't been figured out by everybody. And those who know don't say. And generally those who say don't really know. So it's Babylon, it's a mystery Babylon. There's something there that is hidden, something there that has to be unraveled, something there that has to be discovered, if you will. So the Bible calls it mystery Babylon and talks about the daughters of Babylon. 13 original colonies split with the mother country. They said taxation without representation was tyranny. So they didn't have certain civil liberties. They didn't have certain human rights. They said that they did not have certain religious freedoms. And then they had a severe taxation, but they didn't have proper representation. So the white people separated from England. Before they separated, they went to all of the prisons and opened up the jails and the prisons. America was not founded by the aristocracy or the rich and the elite. The aristocracy, the aristocrats of England had nothing to do with the establishment of the 13 original colonies on the East Coast, the New England states. It was convicts and prisoners because they were interested in going and making a new way, trailblazers and pioneers, and they needed someone to come over and fight the Indians and kill the original Indian, the inhabitant who was here, murder the Indian outright and take the Indian's land. They needed someone who would come and get the slaves, the black man and the black woman from Africa and bring us across the Atlantic Ocean and make us build America for them. So they needed hardened criminals. They needed cutthroats. They needed murderers. They needed liars. They needed deceivers. They needed rapers. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, they teach us that the circumstances under which a thing comes to birth, the circumstances under which a thing determines the very nature and character of that thing. I repeat, the circumstances under which a thing comes into birth and to existence determines the very nature, makeup, and character of that thing. So if you start a liar, you'll always be a liar. If you start and come out of birth from lying and deception and murder and rape, and that was rooted in the very nature that produced you, then it is rooted in your own nature inherently, and it follows you throughout your system of doing things. So America's beginnings came from the criminals instead of the aristocracy of Europe. In fact, George Washington, you know George. George was a wanted man in Europe. Yes, he was. George was considered a terrorist. In those days, they called George E. Washington, who today is called a patriot. Today, he is called one of the founding fathers. George, in those days, was called a terrorist. Can you imagine Georgie being called a terrorist, and he's the founding father of America? But in those days, he was considered a cold-blooded, ruthless terrorist by the British Empire. Patrick Henry and Thomas Jefferson. You know Pat, Thomas. All of them were a bunch of gangsters, notorious outlaws, infamous criminals of the international kind. That's how America was established. That is the history of America. So they set up the New England states because the old England states were still in Europe. And they set up not London, but the baby London. And instead of it being called York, it was called New York. Why was it called New York? New York. Because it was new, very new, It was the baby of the Old York in England. They called it New Hampshire because the Old Hampshire was in London. They called it New Haven, Connecticut, because the Old Haven had been destroyed and they had to set up a New Haven. They called it New Jersey because the Old Jersey was in Europe and they had to set up a New Jersey. You understand? You with me? It's all right to say you with me. No white folks looking. So this baby London, baby lion, this Babylon called a mystery, something that has not been solved yet, where the people have not quite figured it out, and the wise white people who know this definitely guard it with their lives. They are told that if they will reveal the secret, that their tongue would cleave to the roof of their mouth, that they would be disemboweled and their bowels would be thrown out to the ocean at high tide, and they would be cut from ear to ear if they would reveal the secrets. So they guard the secrets in secret orders and secret societies behind closed doors. And they don't let the black man know, don't let the black woman know who they really are and who they really are either. So this Babylon, this baby London, the Bible teaches us that Babylon was a great seaport nation. Her ships rolled the high seas, that you could find Babylon's ships everywhere in everybody's ports, meddling in everybody's business. This is a book that we should all get, the great and illuminating book by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called The Fall of America. And you can see the flames flying up and flaring up from America. Is almost too hot to hold a book. You must get this book, The Fall of America, by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He teaches us in The Fall of America, on page 124 in The Fall of America, chapter 30, talking about Babylon. It says she had become the habitation of devils. Revelations 18 and 2. He said, this is America, the glory of the world in wealth, sport, and play, and her merchant ships plowing the high seas, carrying her costly merchandise throughout the population of the nations of the earth. Revelations 18 and 19. The ships of America, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, can be seen everywhere, in every port of the nations of the earth. Her great navy is built to command the high seas. Her decks are mounted with great bristling rifle-barreled guns. The decks of her ships are covered with planes with which to carry deadly bomb shells to pour on other nations who dare now to reject her entrance into their waters. In our radio audience and those who are here, you've got to check this man, Elijah Muhammad, out. You got to check him out. Elijah Muhammad has given us the keys to what is going on right now. Whatever you're seeing on the news, reading in the newspapers and magazines, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has already told us long ago. And now we are seeing it come to pass right before our very eyes. And he has left a witness in our midst. He has left a witness in our midst in his top minister, his star student and his top student, his real son, not who was just born from his loins, but a man who is born from his spirit. A man who is coming up out of the very heart of Elijah Muhammad, is in the flow of the blood of Elijah Muhammad, which is a life fluid which warms the body and energizes it and gives life to it. His real son, Louis Farrakhan Muhammad, left him as a witness in our midst, and left another one on the West Coast named Jabril Muhammad, who come in the spirit of the man. Where others have backed away, where others have denied, where others have attempted to vilify him and criticize him and make him appear to be an evil man instead of the divine warner in our midst, raised up by God, these two sons of his have stood up, and the strongest voice, the most eminent and preeminent voice, is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. They have stood up, he in particular, and taken on this beast. But isn't it interesting here that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about the ships of America and how she would carry her bomber planes and her ships into the waters of other people when that's been dominating the news for the past few days? What business did America have in the waters off of the coast of Libya? Could Russia come into Chesapeake Bay and test the international waters of the waters around the Chesapeake Bay around America? What a hypocrite. Travel 9,000 miles and go into somebody else's water and then keep the lie going every day that we just want to test the international waters. I'm telling you on radio, I'm telling you that the white man is not a devil, but the white man is absolutely the real devil. He's a devil by nature. He was born a devil, and he will die a devil. Even the unborn white folks. Why do you talk about them? Because they're going to be born devils one day. Even the baby white folks. Well, what has the baby done? The baby has come in, is going to grow up to be a big adult devil one day. Well, what about the dead white people? They died devils. So we can't forget them. In fact, you wouldn't be here if some dead devil who's dead now hadn't brought you here. You wouldn't be catching all this hell if some devil who's dead now hadn't brought you across the Atlantic Ocean, brought us across the Atlantic Ocean. Let's get back to this subject because we got a lot of ground to cover. Got a lot of ground to cover. Daniel, in the first chapter, talks about a crime that Babylon had committed. The crime that Babylon committed, according to the Bible, was that Babylon stole the sacred vessels from the temple of Jerusalem and filled them with wine and strong drink. Now let us stop and reason together. God wouldn't get angry over no wine skins. God ain't got time for no wine skins. Getting mad because some white folks went over in Jerusalem and stole some wine skins and brought them back and filled them with wine and strong drink. Some sacred vessels. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the Bible is written in parables, symbols, metaphors, and similes. And unless you understand the parable, the symbol, the simile, or the metaphor, we will go in the Bible a fool and we'll come out an even bigger fool. Many of us say, well, you have to watch us when we start talking like that. I just goes by the Bible, child. I don't want to hear that old Farrakhan talk, that old black talk, that old Elijah Mohammed talk. I just goes by my Bible. That's your problem. You go by the Bible. You need to go in the Bible sometime. If you would go in the Bible, you would know what time it is, what hour it is, and what we should be and must be doing in this critical hour. Stop going by your Bible and start going in your Bible. Go in your Bible. All right. Daniel, the first chapter. It's not talking about wine vessels. It is talking about human beings, divine human beings who are of God himself. And these sacred beings, vessels of the Spirit of Almighty God, were taken from a place called Jerusalem, which is only symbolic because Jerusalem means the place founded in peace. And so Revelation talks about a new Jerusalem scene coming down from the heavens to let you know that the Jerusalem that they were taken from is a symbolic Jerusalem, and that a new Jerusalem would be established on earth, which would be the foundation of what is called the kingdom of God here on earth, called the hereafter, called paradise, called Jannah by some. That would be called the new Jerusalem. So God's people were taken from an abode of peace, where they had a strong family structure, where they lived collectively and worked together. They introduced science and medicine and music and art and mathematics and architecture, and they introduced civilization itself to the world. They are people of Jerusalem. And they were taken from Jerusalem, taken captive. They were made slaves, and they were taken into a place called Babylon. Now, the Bible tells you in the book of Daniel, in the first chapter, what kind of people these people were. It says they were a people in whom there was no blemish. No what? No blemish. They were well favored by God, skillful in all wisdom, gifted in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. They wanted them to come, and once they put them in captivity, forced them to come under the language or the tongue of the Chaldeans. Now they came, the people of God, came speaking their own mother tongue. But once they were taken into Babylon and brought before the king, or in the king's precinct where he controlled his domain of authority, they tried to force them to speak the tongue of the Chaldeans. Isn't it interesting that the nation was called Babylon, but they had a different language, named something different from the name of the country. The country was Babylon, but they spoke the tongue of the Chaldeans. The country is called America, but they don't speak American. They speak a language under another name called English, the mother tongue. It said not only did they take these wise ones, skilled in all knowledge and wisdom with no blemish, knowledgeable in the sciences and the arts, not only did they take them and force the language on them, but they had some poisoned food and poisoned meat. The book of Daniel in the first chapter talks about some poisoned meat and a poisoned food. I wonder, is it that old pig? I wonder, is it that old swine? I wonder, is it that old hog? I wonder, is it them old pig feet that you be eating and the pus runs out of the pig's foot? And you think that's goody juice coming out of the pig foot, and that's nothing but pus. And it sticks your fingers together and stick your lip all together, and you eating a pus pig foot. I wonder, is that the food or the meat? Or if I don't paint the picture, you'll leave here and go get one. So I got to put it deep in your mind from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. So they tried to force this poison food on them. Yes, they did. It goes on to say that even after a point, when they came in, their names were Hananiah, Zephaniah, Mishael, and Daniel. But they changed their names, the Babylonian slave masters, under a wicked ruler named Nebuchadnezzar, changed their names to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are slave names that were put on Hananiah, Zephaniah, Mishael, and later they attempted to name Daniel Belshazzar. You sing it in the church. You pat your foot to it in the church. You clap to it in the church. You shout down the aisle, woo, when they sing it in the church. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Many of us have sung the song. But little did we know until we came in contact with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his mouthpiece, his spokesman, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego represented under symbol hidden in the Bible, represented the black man and the black woman of America. You're Shadrach, you're Meshach, and you are Abednego. The names that you signed in the sister's check room and the brother's check room. The names that you have as you sit in your homes, listen over your radios and your cars. These names are the names of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. George Washington O'Houlihan, Jim Dandy Smith, Kathy Upstreet, Johnny Doolittle. These are the names of white people. Mr. Workman, don't even have a job. Miss Rivers, know you not water. Mr. Branch, and know you not a tree. Miss White, and you black as you can be. These are the names of white people. All praise is due to Allah. Praise is due to Allah. So they changed the people of God's names from Hananiah, Zephaniah, Mishael, and Daniel to Shadrach, a slave name, Meshach, a slave name, Abednego, a slave name, and Belshazzar, a slave name. Threw them in the lion's den. Were supposed to, by all accounts, the people of God were supposed to be destroyed. The very children of God were supposed to be destroyed during their sojourn in slavery in Babylon under the wicked ruler Nebuchadnezzar and later Belshazzar. Threw them in the lion's den. But they had a God with them. Even though they went through a long night of slavery, they had a God with them. And that God locked the jaws of the lion. Locked the lion's jaws, and the lion, right there walking with the lion, could have tickled the lion's tongue. If the lion would have been big enough, they could have gotten in and hit a little jig and danced on the lion, tap danced on the lion's tongue, because they had a God with them in Babylon who had locked the jaws of the lion. I wonder, do you know what I'm talking about? I know you know what I'm talking about. Said that when that didn't work, said they also threw him in the fiery furnace. You heard Brother James Muhammad, our assistant minister, when he opened up talking about that fiery furnace. Threw him in the fiery furnace. Said they turned the temperature up hot, 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 much hotter than it normally was. By all accounts, they were supposed to be destroyed because they were living in a hell of an existence. Every day was hell. They were broke as hell, sad as hell, mad as hell, hungry as hell, raggedy as hell, out of doors as hell. They were living in a fiery furnace every day, oppressed and afflicted as hell, brutalized and murdered as hell. Every day they were in a fiery furnace. But the book says that one like unto the Son of Man was in the fiery furnace with them. So when they looked in, they expected them to be burning, but one like unto the Son of Man. Didn't say it was necessarily the Son of Man himself, but he had a representative. Huh? He had a reminder that he was still on the scene. Huh? He had an apostle. He had one that was a vessel of his divine spirit. So the book says one like unto the Son of Man was found walking in the fiery furnace with him, and he cooled the flames by virtue of his own presence in the fire with them. And so they didn't burn up. All this time, Nebuchadnezzar and later Belshazzar, they started having dreams. They called in all of their top people, magicians and soothsayers and astronomers and astrologers and liars and everybody. And even if they didn't know what he was talking about, they would just lie and tell them something. They couldn't even make up a good lie. Nobody couldn't figure it out. So they told him about this man named Daniel. black man that had been dipped in the fiery furnace and came out smelling like a rose, had gone in the lion's den, but had a guard with him that had locked the jaws of the lion, told him that he was heavy, that he came from a people skilled in all wisdom and all knowledge and the knowledge of the sciences, and who had come with no blemish. Say, I believe that he can figure out the dream. So Daniel came in and he prayed to his God, and those with him prayed first that Daniel would be imbued with the kind of understanding and insight, hindsight and foresight coming from the God himself, that he would be able to tell the king what his dream was all about. Here it is, the little slave in the midst of Babylon is the only one that the king could depend on to interpret his dream for him. And so Daniel interpreted the dream, and he told the king that it meant that his kingdom was going to be destroyed. It was coming to an end. At another point, a hand appeared, and the hand started writing on the wall. The hand wrote on the wall, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. And it meant, you have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. That God has determined that your kingdom is finished, and you have been weighed in the balance and found wanting, lacking. Your thing ain't together with God. Daniel was the only one who could read the handwriting on the wall. Isn't it interesting that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, when he spoke in Jamahiriya, Tripoli, Libya, that he talked about Ronald Reagan and the government of America being blind to the handwriting on the wall. He talked about the handwriting on the wall all the way over in Libya, in northern Africa, that Reagan and the United States government was blind to the handwriting on the wall. They saw the handwriting, and as Omar Khayyam, who wrote the Rubaiyat, as he said, the moving finger writes, and having writ moves on. Now all your piety, now all your tears, now all your wit can cancel out a single line of it that the moving finger writes. And the moving finger had written that your kingdom is finished. It has been weighed in the balance, and it has been found wanting, and that God is going to destroy it. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Your kingdom is finished. And so the handwriting was plain on the wall, and Daniel read the handwriting. But now the Bible is more descriptive as we go deeper into it. For Revelation 13 and 18 has told us that this Babylon would be under a number 6. This wicked world government, this wicked religious system that would have swept the world, this wicked man that 2 Thessalonians says that that day shall not come unless there be a falling away first, and the man of sin will be revealed, the son of hell or perdition that sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself, meaning the earth, that he is the God, deceiving all of the nations. Said he would deceive even the very elect of God. For a while he would deceive even the very elect of God. But his number would be 600, 666. 666. How much time do we have on the radio? 666. We've got 2 more minutes on the radio. Again, those who are in our radio listening audience, you're listening to the national radio broadcast of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, whose return to this microphone is anxiously awaited and expected in the near future. We're at 734 West 79th Street at his office, his headquarters, the Final Call Administration Building. We'll be here a little while longer. We're going to finish up the 6s of the beast and the man who is hidden under the symbol that's in the Bible. So come on down to 734 West 79th Street. If you have need to call, our number is 994-5775. 994-5775. 775. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. We are taught that a wise black scientist by the name of Yakub, at the age of 6, while playing with steel, determined that opposites attract, and that he would make a man unlike his own people, unlike his father and his uncle's people. He would make a man who would be quite different and a mischief maker throughout the earth. A wise black scientist at the age of 6 playing with steel. And it's interesting that steel is at the root of the American economy today and was the first major corporation to move way up in the billions of dollars in the United States economical system. Opposites attract, like repel. Yakub at the age of 6, another subject for another time, but you get the great and illuminating book also of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called Message to the Black Man in America, and you start on page 103 under the heading The Making of the Devil, and you can read it all starting with page 103, Message to the Black Man by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or you come back here for the Final Call Administration Building, or tune in on the radio, or get the tape of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's mouthpiece and spokesman, his son, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, who has taught this subject to some degree over a period of time, and you will be able to put those tapes and lectures together and get a good understanding of the making of the white race, the making of the devil. Come on down, we've got 30 seconds, and we're just getting started. So at the age of 6, he realized that like repelled and unlike attracted. And so he grew up with the determined idea to make a people unlike his own people, a black scientist. We are taught that as he grew up with this determined idea, that he went around teaching this teaching on a luxury basis. He promised them money, good homes, friendship in all walks of life, but he didn't promise them for the good that it is promised to the righteous today. And he told them that he would make them rulers in the earth over everybody else. And this was one of the ways that he was able to gain his followers. Now they locked him up, but when they put him in prison, it didn't do any good. They put him in prison and he started converting everybody in the prison. And his teaching was spreading all over the streets and all throughout the prison. 70% of the people were satisfied at that time, and 30% of the people were dissatisfied, and he was born from the 30% dissatisfied of his day. And there among the 30% dissatisfied, he had a ripe following. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that things have reached now near 100%, over 90% dissatisfaction. He said 30% dissatisfaction brings about a change. You can imagine what 90% to 100% dissatisfaction will do. So Yakub was visited by the king. They studied and they found that it had been written and already recorded in the year 8,400 that one would come around that time and what to expect of that one. And so they realized that it was Mr. Yakub. So the king, the president, the ruler of that day, he went to the prison. He said, Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Yakub. Yakub said, wa alaikum salam. He said to Yakub that he knew who he was and asked Yakub, what did he want? His being put in prison set the stage for him to raise the question of a separate state or territory for him and his people. He told the king, what we want is for you to take care of us for 20 years until we can go for ourselves. Not 25 in this case. Yaqub asked for 20 years until they could go for themselves. He said, we need a place where we can go, which is a separate state or territory of their own. And so the king was happy to get rid of Mr. Yaqub, because this Yaqub was affecting the masses of the people. The masses were rising up everywhere, all around Yaqub and Yaqub's teaching. So they moved Yaqub and all of his followers, 59,999. Yaqub himself made how much? 60,000. Yaqub made the 60,000th one. And they were taken out to the Aegean Sea, to the island of Pelon, or what is called Patmos in the book of Revelation. Patmos in the book of Revelation, but Pelon at that time. And Yaqub started a special process of sex and birth control, which is called today genetic engineering. Just stick with me for a while. I mean, we're going to get into some stuff before you get out of here today. Genetic engineering. What is it called? Genetic engineering. A special process of sex and birth control, or genetic engineering. He studied that inside of the black man and woman was a strong atom of life or germ of life and a weak atom of life or germ of life. A dominant atom of life and a recessive atom of life. Now later down the line in current history, a white man named Mendel has come up with a law called the Mendelian law of dominant and recessive. That you can get the recessive from the dominant, but you cannot, the white scholar Mendel says, get the dominant from the recessive. He says that dark brown eye, you can get that, but you cannot get it by trying to graft it from a blue eye. But he said the blue eye is weaker than that dark eye. The brown eye and the dark eye, the gray eye, all of them are weaker. Yaqub found and Mendel verifies today. So Yaqub, discovering this in the genes, the genetic makeup of the black nation, black people, set out in the grafting process of his people. I'm not going into that history. It took approximately 600 years. Now, Yaqub did not live all of that time. He died. He did not see his man made and completed. What they would do, I mean, people would marry, they would have normal relations like everyone, but they were controlled. Only the lighter ones were allowed to marry. And if they had a dark child, the dark child was killed. And only the lighter children were allowed to live in a controlled environment. 200 years until they had grafted the brown man out of the black man. Genetic engineering. They're doing it right now. I debated a cracker named Shockley and left him in shock. I debated a cracker named Shockley who teaches a theory of genetic engineering all over the world and says that black people are inferior genetically to white people. He debated our brilliant sister, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. He debated others of our scholars. And we enjoyed debating this cracker, Shockley. We debated him with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when, as I said, his name is Shockley. When we got through with him, with Elijah Muhammad and Louis Farrakhan, he was in shock. But he teaches genetic engineering. What he set up is a sperm bank. Nasty thing. Where they go around and get the sperm from certain choice white men who have won Nobel Prizes in various fields. That's supposed to mean that they have a certain kind of mind and makeup. He gets white men who have won the Nobel Prize, and he takes their sperm, and then they take it to a sperm bank. You know that's heavy. Huh? We don't even make too many trips to the money bank, let alone some crazy foolishness like a sperm bank. And then he chooses white women who are of a certain IQ and intelligence. And he, through artificial insemination, takes the sperm of Nobel White Prize winners and through artificial insemination injects it into these white women with a certain IQ and intelligence. They all volunteered to produce a superior race of people. That's what he talks about. Now, he's doing that right now. Some of you saw the movie Boys from Brazil starring Gregory Peck, where they were cloning Hitlers all over the world. They had to choose a certain kind of woman or at a certain age. They had to choose that she had a husband who was over a certain age, and they would kill the husband to get him out of the way so that he couldn't interfere with the boy who was now placed with the woman who would be dominant over the man, but he would be killed, but she wouldn't be able to handle the boy nor interfere with his development. You remember Boys from Brazil starring Gregory Peck. That's genetic engineering, special sex and birth control. This is what Yaqub practiced 6,600 years ago. Now, if you can believe white folks doing it now, how come you can't believe one of your own was doing it 6,600 years ago when the proof is right here before your face today in the serious circles under Shockley and even on the cinema and the movie screen with Gregory Peck? 600 years, 200 to graft the brown out of the black, and then another 200 years to graft the yellow out of the brown, and then another 200 years to graft the white out of the yellow. Tried to take the grafting process another stage, but they couldn't get nothing out of white. Oh, it's true. That's the farthest point that they could go on the genetic level. It couldn't go any further that way, nor could it reverse and come back that way. It is biologically and genetically impossible for the recessive white man and woman to produce the dominant yellow baby. Biologically and genetically impossible for the recessive yellow man and woman to produce the dominant brown baby. Biologically and genetically impossible for the recessive brown man and woman to produce the dominant black baby. But you take that black man and the black woman, they can be blacker than the ace of spades. They can be so black until they blue black, purple black. They can be blacker than 150 million midnights. And if the seed mutates, or what is called runs wild in the womb of the black woman. I see Sister Khadijah Farrakhan in the audience, and she can bear witness. We saw black people all over Africa so black until they looked like if they spit, they would spit ink. I mean, they were black, really black. Well, you can take them that black, and they can produce brown, they can produce red, they can produce yellow, they can produce white, and if the seed runs wild or mutates in the black womb of the black woman, they can even produce something that is called albino, which is whiter than white, 180 degrees opposite their black color. But white people can't reverse and produce a black one, 180 degrees in the other direction. You never went among white people or went to McDonald's or the Sizzler or any of them places or to the movie or the cinema and saw a white man and a white woman with a real black child that they didn't adopt. And they say, this is my son. This is our son, Johnny. You never seen that. Because he knows that if Johnny came, he knows that Johnny ain't Johnny Jr. He knows that. He knows that if Johnny made it, Jody had to be somewhere around. And Jody had to be black. Because white people, biologically and genetically, cannot produce anything except white. You understand that? Look at us. We are all different colors. Part of the reason is because we were in slavery, that's true. But an even greater reason than that, every people on the earth can come among the black people and look at us and find their likeness among us. Because the black woman is the mother of civilization. The black man is the father of civilization. You can come among us and the Chinese can find their likeness among us. We got black people that look more Chinese than the Chinese. I mean, instead of them saying what's happening, you expect them to say, so. They just as Chinese looking as they can be. Japanese can come among us and find their likeness. Huh? It's true. They even got white folks that can come among us and find their likeness. Because we produce every color of the color spectrum. We produce the features of every people in the color spectrum. You never went into a white audience and found all different colors all spotted up. Real black ones here and brown ones there and tees and tan and paper sack brown, all them different colors. You don't see all that among white people. It's because you are the father and mother of everybody on the face of the planet Earth. They all come from you. You got to know who you are, black woman, and how important you are to civilization and to the rise of all who are here on the earth, and you too, black man. So it took 600 years in this special process of sex, birth control, and genetic engineering. This made man that Yaqub made, according to the history, was to be given 6,000 years to rule. Why? Because at that time, in the makeup of the black nation was a tinge of dissatisfaction and imperfection. Just as the God created the universe in imperfection to evolve toward perfection, he created his first people, his original people, his first people in the light of the sun with a defect. Even the earth, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan says, has a defect. It travels at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. We say that the earth is round, but the earth is not round. It is oblong. And it even has a wobble in its motion. But the God compensates through law for the wobble in the motion of the earth, and we don't even know that it has a wobble because he compensates through law. So there was an imperfection, a defect in the black man and black woman, in the black nation, that had to evolve to perfection, had to be purged, purified. So the grafting process was to graft the dissatisfied element from us, personify it, put it in our image and after our likeness, and it would rule us for a period of time of 6,000 years, which is no time at all. We got history that goes back over 76 trillion years. You put a graph up that, if you could show a graph with 76 trillion years on it, you couldn't even see 6,000 nowhere on the graph. 6,000 years is no time in the history of the black man and black woman. We are from everlasting to everlasting. Brother, you want to open that door and open the main door. Let's get some, not this door here, but the outside, so we can get some air and just put extra security and get some circulation back here and open the windows in both of the check rooms. Let's go back after the 6. 6,000 years to rule. In the Bible it says, 6 days shall thou rule, O man, and do all thy work. But on the 7th day you will be put to rest. Your manservant, 20th chapter of Exodus, your manservant will not work for you. Your maidservant will not work for you. Your ox, nor your ass, nor the stranger who is within your gates. None of them will work for you on the 7th day. 6 days shall you do all of your labor, but you will be put to rest on the 7th day. The Bible says in the 1st chapter of Genesis that God created the heavens and the earth. He separated the waters from the firmament. He separated the day from the night. He created the sun 853,000 miles in diameter, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, burning at a temperature of 14,072 degrees Fahrenheit. And the God said, be, and it was. He put the sun out there, willed it into existence. He creates all of this in 5 days. On the 6th day, he makes a man. On the sixth day, he makes a man, and he's not called a created man, he's called a made man. He created the sun, he created the earth, he created the universe, he created the waters, he created the day, he created the night. 5 days, but on the sixth day, he makes a man. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's minister, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, says there's a difference between that which is made and that which is created. That which is created is made from no pattern. There's nothing to follow. But that which is made has a pattern to follow. The God created everything else, but he gets down to Genesis 1:26, and the God says, let us, what did he say? Let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Now, it didn't say anything about an us and an hour when he was making the sun, when he was making the water, when he was making the day, when he was making the night. But on the sixth day, he says, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Who is this us that is making a man in Genesis? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the Genesis story is not the making of the black race. It's not the beginning of the human family of the planet Earth. It is the beginning of the white race. It is the beginning of the white race under the name Adam, or the Adamites. And the woman's name, symbolically representing the female species of that race, is Eve. If you will study the books, the history books, Roger Thesaurus and even others, as simple as that, they speak of a people called the pre-Adamites. The who? The pre-Adamites. The pre means before, right? Now, how could you be before Adam if Adam is supposed to be the first man? But they speak of a people called the pre-Adamites. And they tell you that the pre-Adamites are the aboriginal people, the people from the beginning. It was Cain and Abel, born of Adam and Eve, right? Cain killed Abel. That left Adam, Eve, and who? And Cain. Huh? Abel was gone. But it tells you that Cain was driven from the garden, right? And he was driven out of the garden to the land of Nod. And when he was driven into the land of Nod, he took himself a wife from the land of Nod. Now the question is, where did his wife come from? If Adam and Eve were the first people on the earth, how could Cain be driven from the garden and there was only supposed to be Adam and Eve, and Cain killed Abel? How could he go to the land of Nod and take himself a wife? Who was this wife? Genesis, the 6th chapter, in the 1st verse says, and the sons of God found that the daughters of men were fair, white, and took them for wives. This was one of the first original sins, this mixed marriage between the sons of God and the daughters of men that angered God himself. This is one of the original sins that took place. Now, I only mentioned from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that that he went and took the wife from the land of Nod to let you know that it had to be somebody else on the earth. And the Bible said, God said, let us. God don't need no help, especially making man. That's one of the easiest things in the world to do. All I do is call my wife and say, come here, baby. Let us make man. I mean, it's easy. It's no problem. But God, it said God needed help. Let us in our image. So this is not the beginning of man. It's the beginning of mankind. There's a difference in man and mankind. The man is the original man, the black man. Mankind is a kind of a man who looks like the original man. We'll go into that deeper at another time. So the Bible 1:26, Genesis says, and God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every creeping thing that crawls upon the earth. So he makes a man called Adam, which represents the making of the white race, and he was given 6,000 years to do that, and it says 6 days shall thou rule. 2 Peter 3:8, Peter says, dearly beloved, I will not let you be ignorant of this one thing. One day with the Lord equals 1,000 years, and 1,000 years equals 1 day. So the 6 days, we are told, represents 6,000 years. This made man of Yaqub, called the white race, it's called the white race. We're the only people on the earth, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, that are not considered a race of people. It's the brown race. You want to stand up a minute? Stand up a minute. Just stretch a minute. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay. Okay. Thank you. The brown race, the red race, the yellow race, and the white race. But we are from the very family of God himself, the Creator's nation. We're not a race of people, we are a nation of people. Huh? These people are called races because they were steps in the genetic process of genetic engineering in the grafting of the white race out of the black man. And a race is against time. A race has a beginning and it has an ending. I don't care if it's a foot race, a track race, a swimming race, a horse race, whatever kind of race it is, it's against a clock. It's against time. It has a beginning and it has an ending. But the black man and woman have no beginning. They have no birth record. They have no beginning nor ending. So they're called the black nation. And the others are called races of people because they were steps in the genetic process in the grafting of the white race out of the original dominant black nation. You with me? So, where we have here? So this man that was made would have 6 ounces of grafted brain. Revelation 13 and 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. He would have 6 ounces of grafted brain. Beyond that, we go on with it. In Christianity, there are over 666 different denominations. Over 666 different denominations. How many books in the Bible? 66 books in the Bible. Right? Not only that, but when they came among us in Africa, they found, as we talked about this people that were the people of God that were taken into bondage in Babylon, how wise they were and knowledgeable they were, that we had built the Great Pyramid and the Great Sphinx with some high science and mathematics that the white people are still calling one of the wonders of the world. They're still wondering how we did it. They came there and found the Great Pyramid turned just like this, and they turned it upside down. They took the knowledge that they gained from us and turned it around and turned it upside down and turned it against us to rule us with only 32 degrees. That's right. That's right. Took that wisdom and turned it around and turned it upside down, and you get the 6-pointed Star of David of the so-called Jews today who use this symbol. Now, this symbol has some positive meanings also. And 6 is also the number of God in the black man and woman. All the numbers belong to the God family, but in particular, it is a mark on the devil in a totally 180 degree and opposite sense. So that's the 6-pointed Star of David. The 6-pointed star. You know what that means. America was wild after Babylon was set up. Here, the baby lion. So they would always, you've seen the cowboy pictures, the westerns, they would always have to go and get the dude from the east. And he would come in wearing what? A six-pointed star. And he was called the sheriff, which comes out of the original tongue, which was our language, out of the original Arabic tongue. These new people that call themselves Arabs today, that's another history completely. But the original Arabs, the black Arabs, that language, Arabic, in that language, the term for the lawgiver or the lawmaker is sharif. So the white man, knowing that, he called his lawmaker the sheriff. After Sharif, he called his man the sheriff. And his sheriff wore a six-pointed star that looked just like this. We got to put that up there for the sheriff. Six-pointed star. You still with me? Now we can stop this and finish it up at another time. A six-pointed star. And he came wearing on his hip a what? A six-shooter. Revelation 13 and 18, here's wisdom. Let him that hath what? Understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And that number would mark this man wherever he is, it would follow him. So he came wearing a six-shooter. He set up his capital in what? Washington, D.C. In Roman numerals, D is 500, C is 100, and 500 and 100 equal. I didn't do it. Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't do it. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan didn't do it. Washington, D.C. And the D.C. represents what? What's the name of it? The District of Columbia. Let's look at it. D-I-S-T-R-I-C-T of, my wife is up there. If I misspell something, baby, help me. The District of Columbia. One, two, three, four, five, six, slash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, slash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, slash. District of Columbia, 666. The address is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His grammatical system, the structure of his grammar of the English language is based on the number 6. Yes, it is. It's based on the number 6. Present tense, past tense, future tense. 1, 2, 3. Present perfect, past perfect, future perfect tense. 1, 2, 3. 3 and 3 is 6. He uses in his subject pronouns, I, you is 2, 1, 2. He, she, it is 3. We, you, they, 1, 2, 3. Is based on the number 6. Present, past, future, present perfect tense, past perfect tense, future perfect tense, 6. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they, 6. His whole grammatical system and the language of English is based on the number 6. He starts his children at school at the age of 6. 6 years old, school. Six years old, school. What did we just get through covering? The grammatical system. English. We just put 6 right here. Now you want me to stop? I can stop now. You sure? He says that he can reach divine, but he says that his woman is cursed. He says Adam can attain godhood, but that his woman, Eve, is cursed forever. And that's why she has a monthly cycle, because God just cursed her. Because of a sin in the garden, God cursed her forever and let Adam go. So Adam can attain divine, but Eve is cursed, and something about her ain't right. That's what the white man teaches in the very religion some of us came out of and some of us are still in. They still teach that the woman is cursed. Yes, they do. They teach that black people are cursed and women are cursed. And so he says that he is under the number 7, which is the divine ancient esoteric number for God. But he says then he comes to adulthood at 21, which is a multiple of 7, 7, and 7. God's number, 21. But he said the woman is cursed. Something wrong with her. So she's under the number and the sign of the beast and the devil. She comes to maturity in the age of responsibility under a multiple of 6, 6, 6, which means 18 years old. "18 years old." Is that right? You ever wonder why? They say, well, this and that, you got all kind of reasons, but you don't know what reason he had. His basic work day, his basic work week is based on 6. And he normally will give you Sunday off because he calls Sunday his Sabbath day or the off day. So a basic 6-day work week, basically. It varies. Basic 6-day work. Oh, okay. Work week. We just squeeze it right in there. We ain't got to erase that. Hang with it. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad calls, and you hear his wife teaching it all the time, Sister Tynetta Muhammad, and I wish she were here with us today, because she'd probably find 666 more of them to put up here. This is what we call the mathematical theology that you hear Sister Tynetta talking about. All right, we're finishing up these 6s, and we'll go. His monetary system, or his medium of exchange, is based on the number 6. The penny, the nickel, the dime, the quarter, the 50-cent piece, and the currency. 6, right? Do it one more time. The penny, the nickel, the dime, the quarter, the 50-cent piece, and a currency piece. So his monetary system is based on the number 6, right? Also, his currency, I don't care if it's a $1 bill or a $100 bill or a $1,000 bill, is 6 inches long. When he buries you, 6 pallbearers carry the casket, and they bury you 6 feet deep. It's true. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding do what? Count the what? Do what? Count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a what? A what? Number of a man. And his number is 666. 6 pallbearers. We'll put that there. 6 feet deep. White woman says she wants a man tall, dark, and handsome. I'm already taken now. Beautiful, brilliant black queen up in the balcony says she wants a man tall, dark, and handsome, and he got to be 6 feet tall. That's her ideal man. His packaging system is based on the number 6. 6 in the carton, 12 in the carton, 24 in the carton, 48 in the carton. And his favorite drink comes in a 6-pack. You know about that. Or you used to know about it. 6-pack. And his packaging system, 6, 12, 18, 24. He even measures time under the number 6. 60 seconds equal 1 minute. 60 minutes equal 1 hour. "60 minutes equal 1 hour." Now we can stop right here. We can stop right here and pick it up at another time. Now I'll probably be in New York next week. It'll probably be a couple of weeks before I get back. We can pick it up in 2 weeks because the time is getting short. What do you want to do? Should we finish or stop? What do you want to do? You let me know what you want to do. America dropped a bomb on Japan. When? August 6, 1945. The atomic bomb, August 6, 1945, and dropped it on a Christian Japanese community. The largest Christian community in Japan, Christian America, dropped the atomic bomb on a people of color from the black nation. For the Japanese come in our family. Dropped it on a people of color. August 6, 1945. Not only that, there were 61 families whose homes were destroyed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, when the crazy cracker named Powell dropped the bomb, and the crazy Negro, no good, good for nothing, Mayor Good, gave the order. 61 families, and the primary family being our family, the Africa family, under the organization and movement called MOVE, that we respect tremendously. 61 families there. The United Nations is called the Tower of Babel. When you uncover the symbolism, said that they tried to build a tower up to heaven, but that all of the tongues got mixed up and confused. The white man started building the Tower of Babel, which is the Tower of Babylon, or the United Nations. The land was given by Rockefeller in New York, and they tried to bring together all of the European nations in particular, that they would rule and dominate the earth and affect the happenings of the universe. But the God intervened and stepped in and confused the tongues and their language so that the United Nations can't make serious decisions and binding decisions today. Not only that, the United Nations has 6 principal organs. 6 principal organs make up the United Nations. Those 6 principal organs are the General Assembly, the Security Council, 2, Economic and Social Council, 3, Trusteeship Council, 4, International Court of Justice, 5, and the Secretariat. The United Nations is based on the number 6. 6 organs make up the United Nations. Stick with me now. South Africa was originally inhabited by the Huguenots, the Germans, and the Dutch. Later, the British and the Jews came. But first, it was settled in the year 1666 under the number 666, so-called South Africa. White people in South Africa under P.W. Botha's illegitimate criminal settler colony that has no business there make up 1/6 of the so-called South African population. 1/6 of the population. The illegitimate state of Israel, which is also a criminal settler colony, its symbol and its flag is that same 6-pointed Star of David. Israel attacked northern Africa and almost wiped out the Air Force of Egypt in a war that was called the Great 6 Days War. Is that right? So they have attacked northern Africa before they attacked Tunisia recently. Uh-oh. I don't mean any harm if you're a Catholic, but the Pope of Rome, the Catholic Church, which is the root of Christianity. All Christians used to be Catholic at one time. First of all, Jesus was not a Christian. You don't find nowhere in the Bible where Jesus said he was a Christian. You don't find nowhere in the Bible where Noah, Abraham, Lot, anybody says they were Christians. Nowhere. Huh? And if you must be a Christian to be saved, and if Jesus was the first Christian and he started Christianity and he was here 2,000 years ago, what about Moses, who was here 2,000 years before Jesus, who was a prophet of God? Does that mean because he wasn't a Christian that he ain't going to be saved? Who started Christianity? It originally started 325 years as an organized movement, 325 AD, meaning after Christ was gone, at the Nicene Conference. In the Roman Empire, the Roman Empire was responsible for it, the same people who killed him, for what he was teaching. The Jews at the root of it, because the Jews were Jesus' number one enemy, and by Allah's grace, in defense of my leader, teacher, and guide, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, I want to do a piece one day on the Jews and Jesus and make sure that it circulates through the church, throughout the church community, the Jews and Jesus, because the Jews fought Jesus every day, everywhere he went, and then plotted his death, had him killed, and then set up a kangaroo court and had Jesus prosecuted in the courts. The Jews, the scribes, the Sadducees, the Sanhedrin, the scribes, the Pharisees, the Sanhedrin, and the Sadducees. All of them were Jews. Study your scripture. It's all right there for you. The same Jew was right there then. All right, where are we? The Pope, I'm going to have to erase something. I got to erase this to show you this. All right? This is that old Pope. Lying devil. Do you know whose seat the Pope is sitting in? The Pope, not literally the seat, but I mean what he's talking about. He's sitting in the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's seat. The Pope is sitting in Minister Farrakhan's seat. You say, oh, no, you were doing all right. You took it too far now. How the Pope gonna be sitting in Farrakhan's seat? Yeah, please, bear with me because you don't know. We don't even know our name. How the hell you know who's sitting in whose seat? The Pope says that he is the vicegerent of God, that he is the vicar of the Son of God, that he is the vicar of Jesus the Christ. We know who Jesus the Christ is, and we know who his son is, or who the vicar of Christ is. And on his tiara, or his mitre, he wears these Roman numerals. You ready for this? This is Pope John Paul and all of the popes who came before him. This is what he wears on his mitre or his tiara. Vicarius. I know I sound just like one of them. Vicarius. Fele. Dea. These are Roman numerals. V represents 5. I represents 1. C, you remember in Washington, D.C., represents 100. You add them up with your pencil, too. Get it out of your little pocketbook, your little purse. A, 0, nothing, no value. R, 0, no value in Roman numerals. I, 1. U, this is really what I said, that's V. and I'm written it wrong, it's V here, represents 5. S, no value. F, no value in Roman numerals. I, again, represents 1. L represents 50 in Roman numerals. Those who know your Roman numerals, you know I ain't lying. I1. D, you remember it from Washington, D.C., represents what? 500. E has no value in Roman numerals. I represent 1. Now, as the old folks say, now let's tabulate it up here. Let's add it up here. That's 100, right? 105, 10, 11, 12. Is that right? 100, 5, 10, 11, 12. 112. Are you with me? 112. That's 50, 1, 2, 3. Is that correct? 53. That's 501, right? 501. Now, mind you, this is the tiara or the mitre that the Pope wears on his head. He walks around with this on. In Roman numerals, saying that he is the vicar of the Son of God. That's what that means when you translate it into Latin. Vicarius Filii Dei. That he is the vicar of the Son of God. He thinks he's getting over by wearing that, but God has another plan. 2 and 3, 5 and 1. No, it ain't, is it? 5 and 1. No, it ain't, is it? 5 and 1. You jive. 666. He wears it right on his head. The Pope of Rome wears it right on his tiara. The Pope was shot not too long ago, and the bullet traveled and lodged 6 inches from the heart. As we said earlier, the fleet that is out in the Mediterranean that went into the sovereign waters of Colonel Muammar al-Gaddafi and the people of Jamahiriya and Libya in the Gulf of Sirte, what he calls Sidra, is commanded by Commander Frank B. Kelso, but the commander-in-chief of all of it is Ronald Wilson Reagan. That fleet is called what? The Sixth Fleet. Sixth Fleet. Uh-oh. The commander-in-chief of the Sixth Fleet, the Seventh Fleet, and all of the armed forces of America, put him up here by the Pope. His name is Ronald Wilson Reagan. Ronald, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wilson, W-I-L-S-O-N. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? This is a coincidence, right? In fact, all of this is a coincidence, right? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 6, 6 makes up the name of Ronald Wilson Reagan. He was shot not too long ago, and he was shot between the 6th and the 7th rib. And I got to talk on that a minute. Shot between the 6th and the 7th rib. His fleet are called the sixth and the seventh fleet. And he was shot between the sixth and the seventh rib. He was only given 6,000 years to rule the white race. And on the seventh day, or in the 7,000th year, their rule would come to an end. And as a sign and a reminder of that, he was shot between the sixth and the seventh rib. Yes, he was. As a reminder that only given 6,000 years to rule. There's a religion called the Seventh-day Adventists. Doesn't mean Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday is the seventh day. It means that symbolically, and we respect that. But it means something higher than that. It means 6,000 years the white man would rule. But Adventists, Seventh-day Adventists. Advent means what? The coming of. So Seventh-day Adventist means, back to that 6 and 7, means 6 days with this man rule the white race. But on the seventh day, or in the 7,000 dispensation or year or period, would be the advent or the coming of God himself to intervene in the affairs of men and put an end to the wicked rule of the white man. So it says Babylon was destroyed in one day. Huh? Now that could mean many things. So brothers and sisters, I'm going to have to stop. We've got so much here, and I've still got some notes here. But we could talk on this devil for a long time. And so the Bible, I'll close out with this. In Revelations 18, tells us, and after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was made bright with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, become the habitation of devils, the hole of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are grown rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven crying, saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of Babylon's sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. And in her was found the blood of the prophets, and the blood of the saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth. Brothers and sisters, I hope that in some way, even if in a small way, that something that I have said from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan today has touched you wherever you are in your thinking, wherever you are at this point in this phase of your development or in your life. I hope that in some way, something that I said, even again, if in a small way, touched you or had some meaning or was of some value to you that you can use in your everyday lives. I say to you that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is teaching supreme wisdom. He is teaching supreme wisdom that surpasses anything that you could get in the church, anything that your preacher could teach you. We believe everything that you believe in the church. We just believe it on a higher plane. But we believe everything that you believe in the church just on a higher plane. And it is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan who is taking us to the higher heights of wisdom as he has been shaped and molded and prepared and fashioned for this very hour by the man of God who is placed in our midst, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So you continue to come back to the Final Call building. Bring our people with you. This place fastly should become too small for us to have our meetings in. If you are not selfish, this great wisdom and truth and divine knowledge and divine understanding that you're gaining from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, you will want to spread that to all black people. You will get the tape today, and you will get your friends and your relatives and co-workers and others together, your partners, and sit them down, and you will listen to this tape, and you will study it, and you will go into the scriptures and into history. You will try to tell every black man, woman, and child about the message of truth coming from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, for this is the hour of your and my rise and the hour of the demise and fall of the white world. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. All praise is due to Allah. Assalamu alaikum. Praise is due to Allah. Assalamu alaikum.